Hi, I'm Abby.
I'm Ronnie.
And this is Dragons in the Details, where we pick apart our favorite fantasy series over the course of undetermined number of episodes. Ronnie, how are you today?
Okay, I'm good. The weather's cold-ish.
We love a
sunny.
cold weather.
I'm like in that sweet spot where it's sweatshirt, sweatpants weather for the patio, which is my ideal temperature to sit out on the patio. I want to be bundled up and under an LL Bean flannel blanket, preferably with a book.
You want to be cozy.
Sunbathing, not...
Derek put on a flannel this morning, and I was like, it's here. Fall's here.
It's time.
It's time. I'm really sad. We're leaving New England mid-October, and I'm really sad about it. I'm like, I just want to have a fucking New England Halloween. I want to go to Salem. I want to be as witchy as fuck. Like, that is what I want to do.
That option is available for you.
I have jury duty. In theory, have jury duty.
Yeah, you gotta go.
So we have to go back, which really,
civic
I'm
duty,
just like,
etc.
That sucks. Yeah,
I'm
not very happy about it.
I've never actually been selected, so maybe you'll be safe.
I've dodged it so many times. This is probably my fifth time, and I'm like, I feel like it's coming for me. Because there used to be a thing. Whatever. This is boring. People don't want to hear about jury duty. Let's just say my time is coming.
How you've gotten out of jury duty. Just kidding. We know that civic duty is important.
What I was planning to tell you about in our fun banter section, which I might get for you as a gift now that I have one. Derek got me a Sodastream.
For like carbonated water.
I have heard nothing but bad things about Sodastream. I fucking love this thing.
Really?
We are not being paid by Sodastream, I want to tell you guys right now.
Interesting.
But as you know,
you guys buy a lot of sparkling water.
We buy a lot of sparkling water. You buy a lot of sparkling water. Like, I love sparkling water.
I love
it.
The sweetener, like,
never,
packets, or do you just use the carbonation?
Just
thingies?
Bubbles. Sometimes with a squeeze of lime. But like, I'm not going to be out here making soda, but I'll be out here making bubbly water. Like,
yeah, nice.
Oh my God, I love it. And you can control the carbonation. It's great.
Is the actual, what do they call the carbonation, like, cylinder?
I don't know. We haven't had to change it yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of.
I know. I know.
It's scary. It's like so
I don't think it's scary.
Obviously.
Well, not by the time it's empty.
I know, but like, you're putting in a pressurized cylinder, basically.
Yeah, I used to work in kitchens.
Remember
so
how
like,
we knew the equations for those at one point?
Oh my God. All my engineering brain is like...
Cylinder specific.
Remember when we were playing the fishbowl game and I put in the Carnot cycle and you got it immediately?
Yeah. It's not real. It's the thing. It's idyllic.
It's ideal. Anyway, now that we've lost
like a very niche number of people would have understood what that meant. So we should bring it back.
Anyway, this is a deep dive fantasy podcast, as previously mentioned. It is not a mechanical engineering podcast. This is season 2. My God, there probably are mechanical engineering podcasts.
I know, we're going to get a shout out. Guys, comment if you were a mechanical engineer and you know what the Carnot cycle is, just so we know you're out there.
Yeah, just so we know we didn't fever dream in college. All right. This is season 2 on Sarah J Maas's A Court of Thorns and Roses. We are covering the entire series, not just book 1. Sometimes people are confused. That is A Court of Thorns and Roses through A Court of Silver Flames. If you missed our last episode, Ronnie did a very good job of saying all of those initials as words. So that was a fun moment.
Until I couldn't. Until we got to
Until we couldn't anymore.
Like, that's not a real acronym.
Yes. Right. Other disclaimer, this podcast is rated R. Do not listen with your children. We curse like sailors, and these are spicy books. Sometimes we get into spicy topics. Each week, we dive into a specific topic in depth. Last week, we did Feyre. This week, we're doing our second, well, maybe our first favorite Archeron sister, Lady Death herself, Nesta Archeron. Yay!
Yay!
We both love Nesta. We both love Nesta.
Yeah, it's probably my most controversial opinion on this series.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I don't know. This is not going to be an episode about how much we like Nesta. It's going to be our typical theory episode. So that's the last we'll say on that. We're coming with receipts. We have quotes to back up any theory, so you can follow along with our skeptical. We actually got someone. I had kind of stopped saying chapter numbers because I was like, people don't really care, right? But we actually had someone DM us on Instagram saying, I love that you guys do chapter numbers because I go back and reread. I'm like, okay, chapter numbers are staying in then, like even if just one person. wants them. So we do our best with that, guys, and we're happy that you like it. All right. Ron, any announcements?
Just a couple. You guys have probably noticed we have deep dive music as we segue into our deep dives. That music is by a real artist named Schwoodley, SCHWOODLEY. Check them out on Spotify. Real person. We love them. We also love their music. So check them out. And then on our Maasverse sections, so we have heard, and we obviously know, right, as we've been kind of doing these, that the Maasverse sections have gotten longer, they've gotten meatier, they're taking up more of the episodes. We've gotten a request to split them out by series. We know that there are people out there who have read Throne of Glass, but not Crescent City. There are maybe a few psychos like Abby who read Crescent City and then did not yet read Throne of Glass.
You told me to do that.
I made her, to be clear. I made her.
Jesus.
That was a dig. I made her do that. But we know that some people have not made their way through all 17 of Sarah J Maas's books.
Yeah.
17. It's going to be embarrassing
5,
if I get that
3,
wrong.
and 8. Yeah. No, 16. 16.
5, 3, and 8.
8
16.
and 8. 16.
Yeah, 16
Yeah.
books. Yeah. 16 of Sarah J Maas's books. So we know that you're out there. It's really hard, guys, to split up to say, like, okay, now we're going to do Throne of Glass spoilers and now we're going to do Crescent City spoilers because the worlds are so intertwined and we don't know where we're going to go with these questions until we answer them, which is typically, at least for me, literally finalized like the night before we record. And so what we're going to try to do to help you guys out, if you want to, like, you don't have to, right? If you don't want to take the risk, you don't have to do it, but we're going to try and mark the chapters. So in Spotify and YouTube and other podcasting platforms, you can see kind of chapters. So if you listen on a platform that has chapters, you'll be able to see which series are covered in each Maasverse chapter. So if there is one without Crescent City or without Throne of Glass and you haven't read that series yet, then you could go there. So we're going to try. We're trying for you guys. We know it's frustrating, but it's also, we're trying to deal with the feasibility of it all. So we'll see how it goes.
Again, just,
Maybe
read the Maasverse. Read the Maasverse. I don't know. Like,
and we know people are. To be clear, the person who specifically requested this is like, I am reading as fast as I can Crescent City. So like, we know that you're trying to get there. Yeah, we're doing our best.
We love you. We appreciate you wherever you're at in the Maasverse. It's okay. We get it. These podcasts, we talked about this a lot in the Empyrean, but not as much this season. You guys know this podcast lasts forever. These will be here. Whenever you're ready, these are going to be here. Yeah. So don't feel the need to rush on our account. Get to it when you get to it. All right. Corrections, omissions, social media shout outs. Ron, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? I'll go first.
I don't have any. No.
Okay. I want to go back to a theory we talked about in our Lucien episode. It was your theory. Fucking loved it. It was that Gwyn is Lucien's granddaughter. So I think we have some more evidence for this. Interestingly, this has been used as evidence for a different theory, but I think it works for your theory. So a user named Curiosity Killed Cat brought this to my attention. Gwyn glows when she sings. Nesta sees Gwyn glow, I believe, twice. So the quote is, Gwyn sang chin high, a faint glow seeming to radiate from her. The words of Gwyn's merry song were in a language Nesta didn't know, but for a heartbeat, Nesta allowed herself to listen to savor the pure, sweet voice that rose and fell with sinuous ease. Gwyn's hair seemed to glow brighter with her song, skin radiating a beckoning light, drawing any listener in. People have used this as evidence that she is a quote-unquote light singer, which Cassian brings up, I believe, exactly one time, and he says light singers lure people in with their singing, and then they show their actual face. But he never actually says that light singers glow. That's never stated anywhere in the book.
Yeah.
But I think this is evidence of Helian's bloodline, right? So it could be that Gwyn is glowing because Lucien is her grandfather and Lucien is Helian's son. Helian's power, as we talked about at length in our Nesta episode, is a glowing. What does that look?
I just had an idea, but I can't talk about it right now. I have to write it down.
Oh, I know. Yeah. So the other thing we have here, we can't talk about it. So yeah, whatever, Helian.
So we still think that Gwyn is Lucien's granddaughter. I agree. Yeah. I do remember that happening, Gwyn glowing. I think she also just, she
can't talk about it.
Physical similarities. Yeah.
She's really tall. Okay, right? Yeah. So there's a point where Nesta's power, which again is this power of the Cauldron. We're going to get into this in this series, but Nesta's power reacts to Gwyn's power.
Yeah.
So she says the priestess drew up to her full height, which was slightly taller than average for Fae females. A crackling sort of energy buzzed around her, and Nesta's power grumbled in answer, right? We know that Helion has some kind of connection to the mask, some kind of connection to made items. He talks about how much the mask affects him, right? So is Nesta's power reacting to kind of Helion's power in Gwyn? Is that what that crackling reaction is?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. In my head, that's real. So we'll see whether they've also never encountered each other in this series yet, right? I was just rereading the part where Lucien stopped by after training, and I was like, she's not here.
So has Feyre even seen Gwyn? Because Feyre picks up on these things.
That's the
immediately.
thought I just had.
Right? So Feyre hasn't even seen Gwyn. But Nesta has seen Helion because Helion tried to sleep with Nesta.
Nesta has seen Helion, but Nesta did not deduce that Lucien was related to Helion. And Feyre
that's
did.
true.
So
that's
if Feyre hasn't seen or met Gwyn yet, then that door is very much still open.
All right. I like it. I think it's a good theory.
All right, good stuff. I don't have any non-Maasverse social media shoutouts, unfortunately.
All right. Then we will get to it later in the episode. All right. We have a fun question this week.
We're back to doing fun questions. Nothing against the what do you think of, but it just kind of got us into our deep dives right away. And we used to, when we were doing Empyrean coverage, try and ask like a giggly question. I always thought they were pretty giggly. I thought they were kind of fun. So this week's question is, which celebrity is fan cast as Nesta in your head?
Okay. I don't have a good answer looks wise. And I'm going to be honest with you, I kind of did this question differently, which was who do I think could play Nesta?
Okay, that works.
There were kind of two actresses that stuck out in my mind, but the one who I think would do a fucking amazing job with it, but again, not fit. She does not look like how Nesta is described.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Florence Pugh would be amazing.
Other people also think that Florence Pugh would be amazing.
Great. I mean, Florence Pugh is amazing in every fucking role.
But she really killed the like blue steel cold in Dune. Yeah.
Oh my God. I wasn't even thinking about Dune. I've plugged this movie before. I think there is this movie. It's a small Irish film called The Wonder.
Yeah.
Florence Pugh plays a nurse. It takes place in Ireland. It's a movie about God. Basically, this girl is claiming that she hasn't eaten in like 40 days and she's surviving just on God. Florence Pugh is a nurse who is brought in to observe her. I am fucking haunted by that film. She is so good in that movie. And like the depth of her performance. You should watch it.
I'm down.
I just think she could crush it with this character. Again, physically, she doesn't really match. I don't care. Give me Florence Pugh as Nesta. Also great in Little Women as Jo. Yeah, and I think it's a very similar kind of character.
Yeah.
My runner-up, I think Sophie Turner would also be great.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of similarities.
She's got more of like the angular look too.
And like a lot of similar character beats as Sansa, really.
Yeah, true.
So those are my picks. Who did you pick?
Well, I did it differently in that like which celebrity is the closest to how I picture her.
Yeah.
I guess there are people, and I think you're one of them in the way that you've described some other characters. There are definitely people who, in their mind's eye, picture certain people when they, like, imagine somebody from a book. I don't, actually, which is weird. So, like, to me, nobody is perfectly Nesta, but the closest celebrity, and it's not an actress, so I would never ask that she play Nesta because it would be, I mean, she's amazing, but like it would be terrible, is like a golden brown haired version of Bella Hadid, honestly. That's like the closest to what I picture Nesta as. Is like if you were to just take her, like no makeup, golden brown hair, and just like have her very, very Nesta-like, like cold.
Yeah.
That's the closest to how I picture Nesta in my head.
I like it. Yeah, I see it. I totally get why. I think that works. I go back and this is going to sound so dumb. There's only one character. And I posted it on Instagram, and it's a Maasverse spoiler, so I don't know if I should say it. But there's one character in Throne of Glass who I read, and I was immediately like, that is an actor. I know exactly what actor it is. I know who he is. And I posted that on Instagram, and a lot of people agreed with me. But I guess I won't say it because I guess it's a spoiler. Other than that, I don't typically... You know what's funny? I don't typically fan cast people as actors because sometimes I don't have a good read on the character yet. And then I get one later and I'm like, oh, this is completely wrong. Like, this is not.
That's all right.
Henry Cavill is not this person, as it turns out.
And why is it always Henry Cavill?
Because he's perfect, honestly.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Yeah, I wouldn't think of an actor or actress unless I had finished the series. But even so, let's take someone we've already talked about. Even for like Feyre, for me, there's not like a perfect, like, oh, I know an actress and I think she'd be perfect as Feyre.
Like maybe Keira Knightley when she was back in her like Pirates of the Caribbean days. Like I think she could have been good.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I had Keira on my short list for Nesta just because she's like so, I don't know, model-esque. Like she's stunning.
Well,
you know who I would actually love to see as? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
You know who I would love to see as Feyre? She would obviously need to have like the right hair color, but this is easily achievable with blondes. Saoirse Ronan.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
She would be so
Give
good.
me Saoirse and Florence. Oh my God.
Yeah. Saoirse, this is my ask to you, casting directors. Consider.
Oh my God, which is the cast of Little Women. And then get Emma Watson as Elaine. Yeah. It's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Although is Emma Watson more of a Feyre? She might be. I mean, she plays more of a Feyre role in that story.
Yeah, but like Hermione.
Hermione is also more of a Feyre.
I guess Hermione is more of a Feyre. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But Saoirse can't be Elaine, so my vote is still Saoirse over.
I agree.
Emma. Sorry, Emma. I love you. You have Hazel.
I was also going to say the girl, I think her name is Emma. Hold on, who played young Diana in The Crown?
I can picture
Emma
her.
Corrin. Emma Corrin.
Yeah.
I think Emma Corrin would do great as Feyre, I think. But honestly, maybe make her Elaine, and then we have Saoirse, Florence, and Emma. Oh my God. I watched the fucking shit out of that.
Yeah. Done.
Okay. That was fun. That was giggly.
Giggly and fun.
Giggly and fun. Yeah. All right. Shall we deep dive?
Let's deep dive.
All right. I'm excited about this one. Ronnie, what are Nesta's powers?
Okay. This is a loaded question.
I know.
Because of the what. I have to be clear, with the notes included, this answer is 3.5 pages long. All right. So in like order of operations here, right? Nesta, prior to being thrown into the cauldron, is magic proof as a human, basically. Like the glamour does not get through to her. So she has a resistance to glamour, which is not necessarily attributable to any specific magical being. It just doesn't work on her, right? Because we know that glamour works on humans and that glamour also works on Fae. So doesn't work on Nesta for whatever reason. When she turns Fae, she goes into the cauldron. She takes more than the cauldron wants to give her. And when she comes out, she basically has this silver death flame power, described by Rhys as pure death, that is seen in multiple ways in use, so we'll get into those. But we honestly don't really see her hone her powers very well in this series so far. Like we see distinct uses of it, but we don't see it necessarily like honed to a T, so it's hard to say exactly what all it's capable of. So ambiguous silver power is revealed in a few places. One, her eyes glow all the time. Like I'm not going to read all the quotes of when her eyes glow. Her eyes glow a lot, and it's usually described as silver flames flickering in her eyes. It's described as similar to Amren. Specifically, she actually draws the parallel herself that it's similar to Amren. She says, Amren's eyes glowed, a remnant of the power that had once burned inside of her, all that was left now. Nesta knew her own power could shine like that too. But while Amren's had revealed itself to be light and heat, Nesta knew that her silver flame came from a colder, darker place, a place that was old and yet wholly new. So she's got this old but new silver flames burning inside her that come through in her eyes. And it's usually when she's emoting in some way, usually when she's angry and kind of like loses herself a bit, this silver flame reveals itself in her eyes. Whether it's her nails or power that comes from her hands, she is literally able to dig her nails into stone. We see this when she's falling down the stairs and these nails spark and she's able to stop herself. So the quote is, she had only a heartbeat to grab for the wall, but too late. Her knees banged into the steps, her face hitting a second later, and then she was twisting and careening down, blasting into the wall, ricocheting off. This is a very violent fall. She flung a hand out blindly, nails biting into the stone. Sparks exploded as she cried out and held on, and her fingernails, the ones gripping the stone steps, Nesta blinked at her hand. She had seen sparks. Her fingers were embedded in the stone, the rock glowing as if lit with an inner flame. We see this again when she's sparring with a block of wood, and Cassian and Lucien are watching her. She's getting really into kind of the different movements that she's going through, and she literally lights the block of wood from within. And it's described as glowing. Cassian goes over, he raised shaking fingers to it, to the burn mark that was still sparkling like an ember. The entire wood block was smoldering from within. He touched his palm to it. The wood was cold as ice. The block dissolved into a pile of cinders. So these things that she's touching when she's emotional, when she's scared, when she's defiant, they are burning cold, which is interesting. She also bursts into flames. So when she's laying in her bed after attempting a scrying that didn't work, she has her body arced and she is bathed in this silver fire. She's screaming, her hands ripping at the sheets, and that fire burned and burned and burned without destroying the blankets or the room. And it was devouring her. And the fire radiated cold. You already mentioned in our last episode the fact that she blasts the King of Hybern with this white light. She also kills Brialyn, which is probably the most flagrant display of this power that we've seen her emit, which is kind of similar to Hybern's waves of white power, but instead she is just pushing death into Brialyn. It is crazy. She literally, it says, Nesta erupted with the force of the cauldron. There was nothing in Nesta's head but screaming, nothing in her heart but love and hatred and fury as she let go of everything inside her and the entire world exploded. The bang of her magic was a beast with no name. Avalanches cascaded down the cliffs in seas of glittering white. Trees bent and ruptured in the wake of the power that shattered from her. Distant seas drew back from their shores, then raced in waves toward them again. Glasses shook and shattered in Valaris. Books tumbled off the shelves in Helion's 1,000 libraries, and the remnants of a rundown cottage in the human lands crumbled into a pile of rubble. But all Nesta saw was Brialyn. All she saw was the slack-jawed crone as Nesta leaped on her, throwing her frail body to the rocky ground. All she knew was screaming as she clutched Brialyn's face, the crown glowing blindingly white, and roared her fury to the mountains, to the stars, to the dark places between them. Gnarled hands turned young. A lined face became beautiful and lovely. White hair darkened to raven black, but Nesta bellowed and bellowed, letting her magic rage, unleashing every ember, erasing the queen beneath her from existence. The young hands turned to ash. The pretty face dissolved into nothing. The dark hair withered into dust, until all that was left of the queen was the crown on the ground. That was a long quote, but how much happened there? She is literally shattering the world with this power. She is seemingly reversed the magic of youth into Brialyn.
She unmade her.
Turning her into ash. Yes, she unmade her, rattling the entire world in her wake.
I didn't have this written down, but I think this just popped into my mind. When the King of Hybern takes down the wall with the cauldron, it does not cause such a fucking ruckus.
Correct. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Only Rhys detects it. And the mortal lands are being impacted by what Nesta is doing on Ramiel here. It's what?
She's crazy powerful. And it's the force of the cauldron is the language that's used, right? There's a few other things that she can do outside of this kind of death flame, we'll call it. I'm calling it death flame for right now. She can sense death. So she, beyond kind of having this flame of death, she is of death. She sees it. When Feyre and Nyx are dying, she sees death hovering nearby. She felt it, saw it, a shadow thicker and more permanent than any of Azriel's. Death swirling around her, and there was nothing to be done as Feyre's breathing thinned. So she senses death lurking as a physical being that she can see. She is also, she went into the cauldron, so she's connected to the cauldron, but she can wield the dread trove, which most people can't. She can put on the mask, she can wear the crown, and she can come out of it, which I suppose Brialyn is able to use the crown as well, but it doesn't seem, at least I don't think, and I'm curious your thoughts, I don't feel like Brialyn really would have come back from that. I don't know. Yeah. She can make things herself. So she made her own trove when visiting a blacksmith. Cassian took Nesta to visit a blacksmith to appreciate the work that goes into creating these weapons. Cassian's such a great teacher. The fact that he takes her on a little field trip is so cute. And
we love him so much.
And she's watching this blacksmith works, and she asks, can I try my hand? She gets really into hammering these 3 different blades, a sword, a knife, and then a greater sword. And then the blacksmith comes to Rhys and is like, oh my gosh, these are cursed. I don't know what she did. Take them. And Amren basically reveals that Nesta made her own trove so she can make things. She can also scry, kind of a traditional witchy type of ability. So bones and stones, she's able to track things. And then she describes herself as a witch many, many times. We haven't seen any abilities necessarily that are strictly witchy, but like scrying is one, and she calls herself a witch. And then the last ability that I'll call out, and I know it's not magic really, but it's just too on the nose for me in this series. She is borderline siren-like. Like she is a seductress with like 100% hit rate. Every male she comes into contact with, it feels like that she wants to like her, likes her. Which I think is interesting. Everyone wants Nesta as her bride, except for the men who are in love with other people.
Oh, what a great point. That hadn't even occurred to me.
We've got the Duke, of course. We've got Eris.
Yeah.
We've got like every magical being that she comes into contact with, including the Kelpie that's like gonna kill her, is like, I'm gonna make you my bride first.
Yeah.
So whenever especially when she sets her mind to it, whoever she's targeting will fall for her, without a doubt.
That's very interesting.
Any other abilities that I did not call out?
I have a smaller one, and then I have kind of a big one, which maybe we were going to talk about later, but I feel that this is the place to do it. So the other one I had, and again, this could be the trove, but it could be her. We're not totally clear. She can change people's bodies, right? So she changes Feyre's body, and she changes her own body.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the help of the mother. But she kind of bends reality itself in a way. Or maybe it's just shifting. I don't know. But she permanently alters her anatomy, and she permanently alters Feyre's anatomy so that they can have children with wings.
Do you think that's making, or do you think that's just something that she learned from the mother that she knows now?
No, could be either.
Yeah, okay.
Could be either.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you want to talk about the death god thing?
That to me is her power of pure death. Like, I think she is, I think she has the power of a death god. Yeah.
She is a death god. Let's talk about it. So you already said Rhys says her power is death. Feyre also thinks her power is death. Azriel asks, what is her power? Death, Rhys whispered, hands trembling again as he got to his feet and aimed towards the window. Blah, blah, blah. Pure death. Rhys says death is her power. She says her power is death. She reached inward toward the power that had made deathless monsters tremble and wicked kings fall to their knees. She didn't know how to use it. Death flowed through her veins, yet she did not have the knowledge to master it. The bone carver compares her to his sister, right? So you bring up this quote a lot, right? You say she was a queen as my sister once was, right? Yep. So his sister is a death god. Lanthys straight up says, which death god are you? Right?
Yep. She says, I'm nobody. Yeah.
She says, I am nobody. Yeah. And then the last thing is Lanthys calls her made sword, the sword that she made, a death sword, right? Which is interesting. You would think all swords are death swords, but I guess this one specifically is a death sword. So he says, what is that blade? His golden hair swayed down to his waist as he backed away again. Its name is Ataraxia, Nesta spat, and it shall be the last thing you see. So Nesta goes into the cauldron, comes out a death god. Where did these other death gods come from? Are they also from the cauldron? Why is she a death god having been made? Are the death gods also made? I don't know. We'll find out. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Nesta's powers are the powers of death. She is a death goddess. Like, straight up.
Yeah, she is.
If another death god is calling her a death god, I'm willing to take that as the truth that she is one. Absolutely.
Oh, we don't get confirmation that Lanthys is a death god, but like
he's one of the first gods or something is what Cassian calls him. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think Bone Carver, certainly a death god. He calls her a queen as my sister once was. Lanthys says, which death god are you? Koschei, we'll get into it, but his power is said to be death itself. Obviously, Nesta's power is death itself. She's a death god.
She's a death god.
She's a death god. All right, cool.
Great.
All right, next question. How is Nesta able to resist Tamlin's glamours when she's still human? The only other creature that we see break Tamlin's glamour is Rhys, and Rhys is a known Daemati, right? So, and he only realizes that Tamlin had glamored him when he sees, this is when Rhys goes to visit Tamlin and Lucien in the Spring Court, and they glamour Feyre so that he can't find her, but he sees 3 place settings at the table and then realizes he's been glamored, right? So Rhys is able to break the glamour when he realizes that he's been tricked. Nesta, it just doesn't fucking work on her. Like, how is that even possible? You know, like that's really crazy. Nesta's basically the explanation that we get for her glamour not working is that she has an iron will. So she says, your beast's little trick didn't work on me. Apparently an iron will is all it takes to keep a glamour from digging in. Feyre says, I'd never heard of a glamour not working, but Nesta's mind was so entirely her own. She had put up such strong walls of steel and iron and ashwood that even a High Lord's magic couldn't pierce them. So that idea of iron in both places. And then we get the picture of Nesta's mental gates, which are also like an iron fortress. There is this idea in this world that we are told is not true, but maybe it actually is true, that iron is a basically deterrent to Fae magic, right? So what Feyre says is, from songs sung to us as lullabies over our cradles, we all knew from infancy that fairies hated iron, but it was the ashwood that made their immortal healing magic falter long enough for a human to make a killing blow. And Feyre describes Nesta's mental gates as iron and steel and ashwood. So is there actually somehow iron in Nesta's like mental gates? And is that iron actually preventing Tamlin's glamours from working? Like, is there actually something to this rumor? Did it originate from somewhere? Is there some lick of truth to it? Obviously, we see the Fae interact with iron many, many, many times. Like Rhys has a whole iron patio set, as far as I can tell, that he keeps out back, which sounds lovely.
Yeah.
So like, we kind of see them interact with it. You made the point in our last episode, we don't necessarily see them trying to interact with it with their magic, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it is some kind of deterrent to their magic and they just don't really know. Or maybe it's something about Tamlin's magic specifically that is reacting to the iron. Interestingly, the cauldron is also made from iron. I didn't realize that on my first read, but the cauldron is made from iron. So even before Nesta goes into the cauldron, was there some piece of her that was like connected to it somehow? I don't really know. Don't really have an answer for that one. Second option, which we've talked about kind of at length at this point. Nesta is called a witch 6 times in this series. The Illyrians call her a witch. Cassian calls her a witch. Tamlin calls her a witch. She calls herself a witch from Urid when she's talking to Lanthys, right? So like there is this idea that that Nesta is a witch, right? We have not met a witch in this world, but we're getting strong indications that Nesta might be one. Again, we've talked about this, but there is the idea of witches. So there are Fae witches and there are human witches, but we don't ever get the explanation for what human witches are, but they are mentioned at one point. But the Fae witches we know are Fae who took too much power from the cauldron, basically. So Moore says, what is the difference between a fairy and a witch? Witches amass power beyond their natural reserve. They use spells and archaic tools to harness more power to them than the cauldron allotted and use it for whatever they desire, good or ill. I would say that definition certainly fits Nesta after she comes out of the cauldron.
Yeah.
But this all happens before she goes into the cauldron.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. I don't really know. And then we have the line about the humankind witches, which kind of blew my mind. So some say witches. Nesta's asking Cassian, like, what lives in the middle? Cassian says, some say witches. He murmured, not the humankind, he added when she raised her brow. What are the humankind of witches? The kind that used to be something else, and then their thirst for magic and power turned them into wretched creatures, banished here by various high lords. So that's the Fae witch that Maura was talking about previously. But there is apparently a human kind of witch.
Yeah.
We don't know what that is. We don't know what that is. But here's my thing with the witch thing. If Nesta is a witch, then all the Archeron sisters are witches, right? Tamlin's glamour, but Tamlin's glamour clearly worked on Elaine and it works on Feyre, right? She is glamored when she gets to the spring court. So like, I don't know.
I thought about this because I think there's a sentiment in these books and other fantasy books for like bloodlines running true. Right. And so, yes, all 3 of them obviously are sisters. We haven't talked about, well, we talked a little bit about like whether Nesta has different lineage from Feyre and Elaine. Like if that's the case, then maybe there's a way around this. But Feyre sees trips in the glamour sometimes. Like she has a couple moments in the spring court where she like thinks she sees something or thinks she hears something, like air moves past her. And it's nothing, but it is actually something. It's just glamored from her ability to perceive it. And so is there the possibility that Elaine has none of this capability? Feyre has like a tiny sliver of this capability, and then Nesta does, maybe. But
I mean, she is the oldest.
So. Right. Yeah.
If it's like a High Lord type thing where the magic, well, I guess the High Lord, the magic chooses the most worthy, but whatever. Yeah. Like it's not in every child is the point.
Right.
Yeah.
So like maybe that's a possibility here. But yeah, I mean, I think the Iron Will comment is where I went as well. And to your point, like, does it need to be literal iron, or is she like there's the iron and then there's the will, Like, is it something in Nesta's mind, or like in her, like, does she have the ability specifically to her to resist this glamour? Because like Fae totally can be glamored. Like, it's not just being Fae. There's no way. The other thing, and this could totally just be an oopsie, or maybe I just missed the fact that she would have learned it earlier. But when she says that, she's basically accusing Feyre of lying and saying there's no Aunt Ripley. And she says, an iron will is all it takes to keep a glamour from digging in. How the hell does she know what a glamour is?
How does she know what glamour is?
Like, literally, how does she know? And I mean, we've got her POV at this point, so I feel like if she found out some way, we would know. But, like, how did Nesta know what a glamour was?
It's a great question. Well, I mean, there are Fae in this world. Like, presumably, the Fae powers would have, like, trickled down into the human realms, like, knowledge of them.
Yeah, so she would just know what a glamour is from just
maybe.
Fairy tales.
Yeah, fairy tales. That's how we know what glamours are, right? There's no glamours in this world, presumably.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Anything else on this one?
No.
All right, Ronnie, what is Nesta's connection to the mother?
Yes. So Nesta speaks directly with the mother, I guess, to literally answer the question when she saves Feyre.
I mean, I think that's canon.
I think she and the mother, whoever that is, we're not going to talk about who the mother is, I don't think.
No, we'll probably
now.
Do a mother episode, guys, just to be clear. We're going to come back to
do a mother
this.
episode. Now have an understanding. And it seems like during this interchange, the mother wanted to help Nesta, right? It's Cassian that actually confirms, like, she seemed to have some sort of connection or understanding with the mother. And the mother, like, that is crazy. And so she basically makes this deal with the mother. She says, I'll give it all back. And the mother gives her the information that she needs to change Feyre's anatomy to change hers anatomy. There are several times where Nesta gets like little pushes and pulls towards something that could be the mother, could be something else. I specifically latched onto the harp when it spoke with her. And I know, before we get into this, like, I know that there are things that are made things that have spoken to Feyre in like strange kind of whispery voices. At least that's how I interpret them in my head. This harp specifically talks in a beautiful, haughty voice, full of music so lovely it broke her heart to hear it, which is not how the Book of Breathing sounded, is not how kind of some of these other made items sounded. And so I'm wondering whether Nesta's relationship with these other items is actually being facilitated in some way by the mother. Like, she has kind of the mother as this narrator interface with some of these different items in her head. And so the harp and her have a full conversation, right? When she's trying to escape the prison and Lanthys has been freed. It's a beautiful, haughty voice, so full of music so lovely it broke her heart to hear it. Said, I do not appreciate your tone, which is a very motherly thing to say. I have heard those exact words many times from my own mother. With that, the harp pushed into her harder, and Nesta roared silently. Her nail scraped over the string again. Let me go. Shall I open a door for you then? Release that which is caught. Nesta says, yes, damn you, yes. And the harp says, it's been a long while, sister, since I played. I shall need time to remember the right combinations. Don't play games. Nesta chilled at the word it had used, sister. Like she and this thing were one and the same. The small strings are for games, light movement and leaping, but the longer the final ones, whatever, that's all just the harp stuff, which we absolutely need a trove episode. So we'll get into that later.
We're getting a trove episode. Don't you guys worry.
But this voice and this interaction, right, are very mother-like. And so it makes me question the other little inklings that Nesta is having. Is she actually being kind of pushed along and guided by the mother throughout this book?
It's very interesting because Mask speaks to her. Well, I thought the Mask was speaking to her in the Bog of Orid. And then, so she's in the Bog of Orid and it's run, a small voice whispered, run and do not look back. The voice was female, gentle, wise, and serene. Run. I thought that was the Mask. I thought that was the Mask talking to her at first because we're in the Bog of Orid. Yeah. But I do think that was actually the mother because I don't think the Mask would tell her to run.
Right. But the harp is as well. The harp is like, let's get out of here.
Yeah, I guess the harp is like, let's get out of here.
But I agree. I'm agreeing with you. I don't think it's the Mask or the harp, actually.
It's interesting because Lanthys, which we'll get into in the next question, also says he freed himself. He doesn't say the harp frees him. He said he freed himself.
I kind of thought that was just like arrogance because we know that Lanthys was trapped by his own arrogance.
Right. But what you're saying is the harp the voice of the harp might actually be the voice of the mother. And therefore the harp is the one that, well, like the mother is the one that kind of used the harp to get Nesta free.
Yeah.
But then that would also mean that the mother freed Lanthys from his cell, except that Lanthys says, I freed myself from the cell. We read that and Cassian reads that as a lie, but maybe it's not if the mother was actually the one who was kind of helping Nesta out with the harp.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Or maybe the mother, I mean, I kind of view this mother, like, and its role, right, as a fate playing type of character. So
I want to
if
get into that, yeah.
hadn't been released, then Nesta would not have used ataraxia to slay Lanthys and would not have realized that, one, ataraxia can kill the unkillable. Two, she wouldn't have learned from Lanthys that Lanthys, like, wants her. Like, she gets some meaningful information from him. So I don't think that necessarily means that the mother was against her in that moment, nor would I think that if it was just the harp. Like the harp, if this is the harp talking, either way, they seem to be on her side.
Yeah.
They're just being a little pithy. It doesn't appreciate her tone.
Yeah. A crazy theory for this one. That probably should be a precog theory, but I kind of just want to dive into it. Are you good with that?
Yeah.
The only other point I'll make real quick before we get into this, the mother watches over Gwyn, Nesta, and Emery on the mountain. So the bracelets are beacons, and Nesta, Gwyn, and Emery make these friendship bracelets. Nesta makes a wish that they will always be able to find their way back to each other, and then the bracelets act as beacons because Nesta made them. Emery says, the mother watched over us, and the charms let out a soft singing hum, right? So the mother is certainly protecting her. It also prevents all of her power from leaving her altogether at the end of Silver Flames when she makes the bargain with the Cauldron. So she still retains some power at the end of Silver. I want to get into this idea of the mother being like fate, because that's also what I thought. And there's kind of a crazy theory here. If the mother is fate, there's a priestess named Clotho who works in the library and is essentially Nesta's boss, right? You remember Clotho. She can't speak, and it's implied, but it's not confirmed, that she actually doesn't need light to be able to see, because at one point, Rhys and Feyre find her in complete darkness. So the quote is, a library is a temple of sorts, Rhys said with a wry smile, but the priestess is here. As we entered into the library proper, golden lights flickered to light, as if Clotho had been in utter darkness until we'd entered. They are special, unique. So she doesn't speak, and she doesn't really seem the need to see. In Greek mythology, Clotho is one of the three fates. That is one of the three fates' names. She is specifically the one who, she is specifically the personification of destiny, and she is the spinner who weaves out life's thread. Right? So super wackadoodle out there theory. I'm saying that right now.
Clotho is the mother?
But like, could Clotho be the mother? Because there is another moment of this. There's another moment of this where Clotho's meddling leads to good things, right? So Nesta has been shadowboxing in the library, for lack of a better word, right? In an effort to try to get the priestesses to sign up for training. Clotho is like, this can't keep happening. And she has Cassian come down, and she says she wants Cassian to scold Nesta. But really, Cassian starts training with Nesta a little bit, and then it's like, all right, cut it out. I don't want this. Like, don't do this anymore.
Yeah.
The scheme was that we believe is Nesta's scheme, and I still believe it's Nesta's scheme, to be clear, but it's kind of fun to think maybe it wasn't. The scheme was to have Cassian come down so that the priestesses would see that Cassian was a male who was not a threat, was a male who would not do anything like untowards with them. Right, basically, right? So Clotho's interference here leads to Gwyn becoming a Valkyrie, right? So like, it's loose. It's definitely loose. But Clotho is one of the three fates in Greek mythology. So do I think Clotho is the mother 100%? No, I'd say like probably 5%, but fun to think about.
Yeah. It's interesting to think about whether the mother is like one entity or not also, because the fates traditionally are three.
And there's three faces of the mother traditionally, right?
Yeah.
Mother, maid, and crone.
Yeah.
So could there be two others out there?
That would be unfortunate because we already have a crone and I'm not obsessed with her, to be honest.
Briallen? Well, we also have the healer, but I think Clotho's kind of a crone. I don't know. I guess we don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Intriguing.
That's just a fun one. Not a serious one.
Yeah. But Nesta is the feminist of this series. Like, she loves the girlies. The female bonds between Nesta and others are strong. She like basically recreates the Valkyries reimagined, right? In like a Valkyrie Illyrian unit. And yes, when she talks to the harp, it's a female voice. When she's encountering the mask, it's a female voice. And she is, to your point, protected by this unknown power.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Emery specifically says it's the mother, and then the charms hum, which is interesting because it's a maid bracelet, right? So but we know the mother has this connection to the cauldron.
Right. Well, yes. And the harp is also made and the mask is also made. So all these are made things.
Yeah. All of these are made things. One more fun fact of this Greek mythology with Clotho. Clotho, sorry. In one version of the story, her father is named Nyx.
So Nyx is also an ancient goddess in this world.
In this one?
In this one.
Nyx is named after a goddess?
Nyx is named after a goddess. Yes, it is in a bonus chapter.
Oh my God, I did not know that.
We'll talk about it later. Yeah. So basically they're talking about, and Nyx, by the way, also his middle name might be Papa Archeron's.
What's his middle name? Do we know?
We don't know. But they're talking, basically there's a bonus chapter where Feyre and Rhys are talking about naming their son. And Rhys is like, I would never name him something ridiculous. And then Feyre kind of alludes to the fact that she knows Rhys's family name and is like, well, like, I don't believe you, your family name. And Rhys cuts her off and he's like, let's not talk about my family name. And then they talk about potentially naming the baby after Feyre's father. And she's like, no, maybe it's a second name. Like, I want him to have his own name. And Rhys says, what about the ancient goddess Nyx? And then they decide on Nyx. So not only is Nyx a real ancient goddess in this world, but Nyx could have the middle name that we maybe one day find out that is Papa Archeron's name, and Feyre knows Rhys's last name. And it's ridiculous, apparently. So that's just a fun fact.
God, it's blowing me. I'm wondering if I've read this chapter. Like, some parts of it are ringing bells and some aren't.
It was, so I don't have the original edition, but I guess when Azriel's bonus chapter was published, there was another bonus chapter associated with that book as well. I guess it had to be.
I think
it had to be A Court of Silver Flames.
Yeah, because it happens during Silver Flames.
Yeah.
All of this happens during Silver Flames. Okay, interesting. All right, so we don't really have answers on the mother thing, but something to watch for sure.
Something to watch. All right, Abby.
All right.
Why do Eris, Koschei, and Lanthys all want Nesta to be their bride?
All right. We've kind of actually already talked about all these things, but let's go through it. So first question, which I brought up in the Death Gods, is Lanthys also made, right? Is Lanthys also made? Does he have a connection to the harp? Because as we talked about, Lanthys says, and the quote is, when he is freed from his cell, the door opened of my will alone, Lanthys purred. And then Cassian says, liar, someone opened it for you. Is it possible that Lanthys can control the harp, that Lanthys is made? Is he one of these made beings? Is that why him and Nesta have the same power? He seems to think she's one of them, right? So the quote is, Lanthys halted his retreat and extended his broad, graceful hand. You do not even know what you could do. Come, I shall show you. Come with me, Queen of Queens, and we shall return what was once lost. The words were a lullaby, a honeyed promise. We shall rebuild to what we were before the golden legions of the Fae cast off their chains and overthrew us, right? So there is, and this is kind of a tangent. I didn't write this down, but I feel like it's fair game. We can talk about it. We know that the Fae were once ruled by the Daglin, right? Like, that is confirmed, that is canon, and that the Fae overthrew them. So is there a connection between the Death Gods and Lanthys and the Daglin? The Death Gods and Nesta and the Daglin? Just something to think about. I don't have an answer right now, but is that what Lanthys is talking about here? Once he realizes what she is, once he realizes she's Nesta, right? That's when he kind of wants to seduce her. You have your light bulb face on.
I thought, sorry, I'm like doubting myself, but I thought that was kind of indisputable because of what Lanthys talks about with the Wild Hunt. I thought that kind of confirms the tie between the Daglin and Lanthys. Yeah, so if Lanthys was part of the Wild Hunt, like, the Daglin created the Wild Hunt.
Okay, so this is
confirmed.
This is confirmed. Okay,
yeah.
Link between Lanthys and the Daglin. When he's trying to seduce her, Lanthys says, Nesta could see the portrait Lanthys wove into the air around them. By the way, this is 100% Daemati power, right? He's in her mind. He's weaving a portrait. Lanthys has the Daemati power.
Yeah.
Nesta could see the blah, blah, blah. She saw herself on a black throne, a matching crown in her unbound hair. Enormous onyx beaks, scaled like those she'd seen on the hewn city's pillars, lay at the foot of the dais. Ataraxia leaned against her throne, and on her other side, Lanthys sat there, his hand laced through hers. Their kingdom was endless, their palace built of pure magic that lived and thrived around them. The harp sat atop sat behind them on an altar, the mask too, but the golden crown wasn't there. It rested atop Lanthys's head. And then he sends them a vision of her and him having sex, and it's the best sex she's ever had. He'd seen the harp, known she was after the trove, and revealed what he'd do with it. The crown he'd claim for himself. It would have no influence over her, but their rule would be one of coercion, enslavement. So Lanthys can wield the trove, right? Yeah. He's wielding the crown. He is made. Whatever the death gods are, they are made, which I think is kind of crazy, but it's all here. And then he sends her a vision of her getting pregnant, and he shows her that the child she would bear him would rule entire universes here. So again, kind of some interesting notes here, things to think about. Death gods can have children, right? And he thinks Nesta is strong enough to bear that child. So again, they are the same thing. I think for Lanthys, you mentioned her being a siren, right? And seducing everyone. I think that's right. I think this is also a like calls to like situation, right? So like he sees something that is like him. He's like, hey, I can get you pregnant and we can have a baby that would rule the universe with our powers. She's a death god. He's a death god. They can wield the trove together. Interestingly, I don't know. I kind of thought about this, and we'll talk about it when we get into Koschei. I don't know that this was actually Lanthys's plan, because he doesn't really need Nesta to find or wield the trove, right? Because if he can wield the trove, he could find the trove too. So maybe this was all to like use her and then kind of cast her by the wayside, or use her to have a baby. I don't know that it's her specifically that he's after, or her like, or the trove, or the idea of this powerful offspring that could rule the universe, but just something to think about there.
Yeah. I guess we need to do a trove episode, because I'm also like, can he really wield the full trove? Like Nesta, I think we have reason to believe that she can wear the mask and the crown and play the harp.
Well, she definitely can, yeah.
Yeah. So why?
Maybe he can only wear the crown.
Maybe he can't. Like maybe they need her to wield them all, but he specifically wants to wear the crown, and that's where Nesta's like, nope, because he wants control.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of this, actually, that's a good point. Well, Koschei is, I was going to say it's a good point because Koschei has Briallen wear the crown, but Koschei is bound to his lake, right? He can't leave his lake.
Yeah. But if Briallen could do all of it, he would just use Briallen. He already has Briallen.
Yeah.
So I think he needs Nesta to wield the trove to get him, like, to free him somehow.
Let's get into Koschei, then let's talk about all of it, because I don't think it's necessarily clear what the death gods can and can't do in this scenario.
Yeah.
So Koschei we never get specific confirmation that Koschei is interested in Nesta. I'm going to do Koschei and Lanthys, and then I'm going to do Eris, because I think Eris wants Nesta for a different reason. So Koschei has tricked Cassian and Azriel into rescuing Eris from, I'm going to put Briallen in quotes, because really it's from him. So basically Azriel finds out that Eris has been captured by Briallen. Rhys sends Cassian and Azriel to go rescue Eris, and in the interim, or when they go to rescue Eris, they find out that actually Koschei has been kind of like pulling all these strings. We find out that this is an elaborate plan that has been put together by Koschei and Briallen to kill Nesta and get the trove from her. Briallen says all she cares about is revenge, but that doesn't really make sense from Koschei's point of view, right? Why would Koschei care at all? So the quote we have from Briallen is, "What I want is retribution. What I want is power. What I want is the trove. So I made sure you knew it too, made sure you became my unwitting partner in collecting the items of power for this godforsaken territory. And I know there's only one way you'll yield them to me, one person for whom you'd do so." A smile towards Cassian, your mate. So Briallen wants the trove, wants to kill Nesta. There's no fucking way in hell that Koschei would just let Briallen keep the trove, right? Like, unless he's controlling her, which I think is possible. We are told by Vasa that Koschei is probably using Briallen to try to free himself from the ancient spell that confines him. And he wants to make himself the master of worlds, which of course he does. All the bad guys do, right? So the quote is, this is Cassian talking to Vasa. "And you think Koschei would do all of this not out of sympathy for the human queens, but with the goal of freeing himself?" "Certainly." Vasa peered at her hands, finger flexing. "I fear what happens if he ever gets free of the lake, if he sees this world on the cusp of disaster and knows he could strike hard and make himself its master, as he once tried to do so long ago." So this plan, Briallen is a pawn, right? It is not about Briallen. It is that Koschei wants the trove. And now we know Lanthys also wants the trove. Not really that crazy. I mean, we know the trove is super powerful, that they would want Nesta for the trove, but it is an interesting question as to why they need Nesta for this when they are death gods and she is a death god too, right? So like, what is it about Nesta that makes them need her to wield the trove? But also, Briallen was planning to kill Nesta. So maybe it's just that they don't actually need Nesta. They just need her to find it.
Yeah. But then, like, Briallen has all the same. Like, she also was thrown in the cauldron. I guess
right.
It's because Nesta.
But Nesta
what Nesta took.
Nesta took something. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Nesta and Briallen clearly don't have the same powers.
Yeah, level of power. Yeah.
But Briallen does track down the crown on her own, right? Yeah. So I don't totally know. Yeah. So other interesting note between Koschei and Lanthys, we can cut this part if it's not that interesting. Lanthys appears as mist and Koschei basically appears as black shadow. So 30 feet from the shore, standing atop the surface, floated a shadow. It shifted and warped, its edges fluttering, but it had the vague shape of a tall male, right? So we're getting very similar ideas here. I know we said it wasn't confirmed that Lanthys was a death god, but I think he probably was based on the similarities between him and Koschei. So it really seems you're just...
They say that he is a death lord. The quote is, "I told you of Lanthys, the wound he gave me. He is literally deathless. Nothing can kill him. Koschei, too, cannot be killed. He is the master of his own death. They are death lords."
Okay, cool. So confirmed.
Lanthys and Koschei, same vein. Yeah. The only other note that I have is that we've seen a few death gods die now, right? And they bleed black. So, like, even further from Fae. Like, they're a totally different type of being. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think it's
and that is Striga and Lanthys, right?
Striga and Lanthys, yeah. The Bone Carver dies, but I don't think we
don't see him bleed.
Him die, yeah, so.
Yeah. All right, so the last piece of this question is Eris, which we get a lot less from Eris. Basically, Nesta dances with Eris, and much like the Lord back in her human life, he pretty much immediately says to Rhys that he wants to marry her. So the quotes are, "Lust glazed Eris's eyes, covetous, calculating lust. Cassian swallowed his growl. I mean that whatever you want, I'll give to you in exchange for her as my bride." He jerked his chin to the box with the dagger at Rhys's feet. "I'd rather have her than that." So he literally Rhys has gifted Eris one of Nesta's made daggers. Eris comments on how powerful the dagger is. Rhys doesn't tell Eris that Nesta made it. Rhys says that it's a family heirloom. So he doesn't necessarily know that Nesta's capable of this. But he says he's literally rather have Nesta than a made blade, which he has just been, singing the praises of. The second quote is, "From the shadows in his eyes, Cassian knew something more lay beneath the rash offer, something that even as his spies hadn't picked up on at the Autumn Court. All it would take was the one push of Rhys's power into his mind and they'd know, but it went against everything they stood for, at least amongst their allies. Rhys demanded their trust. He had to give it in return. He couldn't fault his brother for that." So Cassian is sensing that there's something more to Eris's proposal here, right? More than lust. Maybe he knows about maybe he knows about Nesta's power. Maybe he doesn't. I don't think that this is about Eris wanting the trove, because Eris knows about the trove already and specifically seems worried about what his father might do if his father finds out about the trove. So I do not think this is like a lust for power the way that it is with Lanthys and Koschei. I think, so again, we talked about this, like this is right after Rhys gifts Eris one of Nesta's made daggers. Eris notes, "There's flame in it." That's the exact quote, and realizes it's made. Rhys tells him it's from his personal collection, but Eris seems skeptical. When Nesta and Eris dance, so Eris seems skeptical. If he realized who made the dagger, if he realized it was Nesta, which wouldn't be too hard for him to figure out, right? Like he knows a lot about Nesta at this point. Like he's met with her. He knows things about her. He might realize that Nesta has firepower, but that it is not like his own. So there is a quote from Lucien. I think I have it up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Rhys Muse then said to Lucien, "The flame in her eyes was not of your usual sort, I take it." Lucien shook his head. "No, it spoke to nothing in my own arsenal. That was ice so cold it burned, ice and yet fluid like flame made of ice." So we know that Eris and Lucien have this like typical hot flame power, but that Nesta's flame power is different. So if Eris has somehow realized that, right, because his fire simmers in his eyes, he has just received this made dagger from Nesta. He says there's flame in it. I'm kind of thinking if he realizes that she has this cold flame power mixed with his normal flame power, like could that combine into some crazy powerful offspring? Definitely kind of wackadoodle, but like is that what what Eris is after here? Does it not have anything to do with the trove? Is it more about the specific meeting and melding of their two powers becoming something more than what it is right now?
Yeah, maybe. I think I get the sense from that quote, like from the "I have my reasons" quote that Eris gave in response to why he would immediately ask for Nesta to be his bride, is that like Eris is playing chess when everybody else is playing checkers. Like Nesta is a puzzle piece to something bigger. Like you said, Eris knows way more than he should.
Yeah.
Like I think he's up to something. I think Nesta plays a role in it. I don't know that it would make sense to me that breeding would be the answer to that. Because if it was, well, if breeding were his priority, like casting more aside was probably not the call. Honestly.
No, but breeding with Nesta's silver flame specifically.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, maybe.
Lots of secrets with Eris. We're going to do an Eris episode. I am not promising answers, though. I want to be clear about that.
Yeah. Or maybe he does want those abilities, even just having those abilities at his side.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the silver flame will be needed.
Because if Rhys can recognize that it's pure death, then others can recognize that it's pure death. I don't think he necessarily needs to only be limited to the knowledge that it's flames.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't really have much more than that. I kind of think they all have to either want her for the trove or for breeding. But it's interesting, right? Like they are not the only ones who have basically laid down themselves and said like, Nesta, marry me. Like it has happened 2 other times, one from just like a random human dude. And then the other time, like from a Kelpie that was about to like kill her. So
that's a really good point.
Nesta got something really about her. Yeah. I don't know what it is.
And she's not like approachable, I guess is the word I would use. Like it's not like she's out here like, oh yeah, like she's not Elaine. You know, she's not easy to love.
Yeah.
Well, and Tomas.
Oh yeah, and Tomas. Yeah.
And Cassian. Terrible. So 7. She's gotten 7 proposals. This is 8. 7.
Yeah. And I mean, she's mega powerful. She would have great offspring, which we know is a trope in this book. Do not call us misogynists. That is a plot line in this book. Okay. Neither of us are revolving our lives around children.
We're both in our 30s and don't have kids. Okay, guys, like calm the fuck down.
But yes, I think the breeding and the trove potential are the most likely answers for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. All right. Anything else for ACOTAR only? I think this was a pretty good ACOTAR only one. I think there was a lot of meat here.
Yeah. The death gods really keep it interesting. Honestly.
I know. Honestly, I sometimes forget that Silver Flames is an ACOTAR book. Like, sometimes it's just
so much new
so
is introduced into it. Like, we have no concept of a trove prior to that. So, cool.
All right. If you have not read the Maasverse and don't want to be spoiled, then this is your cue to leave. And, love you. Bye. We'll talk to you soon.
Love you. Bye.
All right. We are in our Maasverse section. For everyone still here, that means full spoilers. All of Throne of Glass, all of Crescent City. If you're here, I think you know that. As we did last week, we are going to take a little pause on our Nesta deep dive. We are going to do a corrections, omissions, social media shout outs real quick. Ron, do you want to start?
I'm just going to skip my social media shoutouts for right now, I think, because they fit better in other episodes. Do you have any social media shoutouts or anything? Because I want to loop back to the Glamour Resistance.
No, I just have omissions. Yeah. Okay, guys, this section is a little bit becoming the things we couldn't say in the ACOTAR only section. We're really sorry. We're navigating it as best we can. Okay, if we're here, we hope you sympathize. All right. What do you want to talk about with Nesta being a witch?
Nesta's a witch. We talked about in the last episode, sorry, not the last episode, 2 episodes ago, that it's possible that Nesta has Iron Teeth witch blood in her veins. There's lots of iron imagery with the Archerons, iron gates in their mind, iron woodbed in their cottage, Nesta's nails sparking. In ACOTAR world, Tamlin and Lucien lead Feyre to believe that iron is useless as a repellent against magic. And it is a lot of places, but it also surrounds like human manners and things. Like the humans very much believe that that is still a viable way to ward off magic. And we don't see iron coffins the way we see in Throne of Glass. We don't see that kind of use of it against the Fae in Prythian. But in Throne of Glass, it is a repellent, right? But either way, like, is she just a witch and that's why she can repel Glamour?
Yeah, I have some more follow-ups on that specifically. So I said there is one instance of someone resisting Glamour in ACOTAR. That is true, but we have some similar examples of it in Throne of Glass world. So in Queen of Shadows, there's a scene where the 13 meet a Valg prince. This was Dorian's cousin who just kind of completely fucking disappears, but it turns out he's been possessed by a Valg prince. And the Valg prince does what Valg princes do and forces them to relive their worst memories. But the Iron Teeth witches who have the gold and black eyes are able to resist that power. So like the other ones are reliving their worst memories. The ones with the gold and black eyes are fine. They are not affected by this. Again, I'm going to say it. Daemati power, right? They're going into someone's mind and forcing them to see things. I think that is Rhys's power. I think this is all linked together, right? So like the ones with the gold and the black eyes can resist whatever that is, that glamouring, that Daemati power. And if you don't know why I'm conflating Tamlin's glamouring with Rhys's Daemati power, you should go back and listen to our Tamlin episode. Doesn't work perfectly, right? Because obviously Nesta and Feyre, A, don't have black and gold eyes, and B, they have the same eyes, right? So again, why would Nesta be able to resist that glamour when Feyre can't?
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like there's something going on here. We talked about the direct connections between Feyre and Manon, possibly in last episode in our Pre-cog section. I just am feeling like there's so much here, right? And like Lanthys, we talked about the Ouroboros being a witch mirror, but Lanthys is also trapped in a mirror, right? So like clearly the witches have been to Prithian at some point because these are witch mirrors. So like what is going to be the connection here? I don't know, but something. Yeah. All right.
She's got to be something else.
Yeah. She's not just human. She's not just human. That's what you're saying. I think
specifically.
Yeah.
What is going on with everyone else? I don't know. I do think, like you said, like Nesta and Feyre are definitely related. Elaine, little bit of an odd duck, like probably related to Feyre.
Elaine might have a different father. Yeah, but yeah.
Or Elaine might have their father. And
their father, yeah.
Feyre and Nesta. Well, no, Feyre also has to have their father.
Yeah.
So really only Nesta could have a different father, and Feyre and Nesta have to be related through their mother. Yeah, it all makes sense. All right.
We are being clear and coherent. All right, I have one more omission, omission, as you say. This gets back to our theories about Vesperis's power, Vesperis being Thea's mother. We said there were kind of two ways that Vesperis's power could end up in the Starborn line. Just for context, guys, because I know we're kind of like switching real quick here. Our theory is that Vesperis is the originator of the Starborn line. We get into this in Rhys's family deep dive. It's definitely her power because she is the evening star. Selene says her son, who has the Starborn power, has the light of the evening star. So we definitely think she's the source. The question is, how did that power get into Selene's line? We mentioned that there were two possibilities. The first one is that Vesperis is Thea's mother. The second one is that Vesperis is actually like kind of Selene and Helena's mother and just used Thea as a womb, basically, because Thea doesn't get pregnant until later in life and then has two babies in quick succession. It's all very sketchy. I think we have confirmation that the first one is the case because, as we talked about in last episode, when Bryce reclaims the second third of Thea's power from the prison, and again, remember, it is Thea's power, it is not Selene's power. What she says is, power uncut and ancient scorched through her veins, the hair on her head rose, debris floated upward, she was everywhere and nowhere. She was the evening star and the last rays of color before dark. So it is, again, Thea's power. That is the evening star power. So I think that confirms that Vesperis is Thea's mother, not that Vesperis is Selene and Helena's mother.
Yeah.
In my mind. Yep. Cool.
Okay.
All right. Back to our regular scheduled program. Ronnie, is Nesta Starborn?
Yes, and.
Yes, and.
Yes, and. Yes, but she's not the same as Rhys. So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
She is Starborn in that she's part Asteri because the Cauldron was warped by the Asteri, right? So similar to Feyre, Feyre gets her Starborn abilities from the fact that she has a kernel of Rhys's power. Nesta definitely has Starborn abilities, and we'll talk about like all the different places that she does, but she has them because she went into the Cauldron, which had been manipulated by the Asteri. And so just for full context, right? We know this because in Crescent City, we are told by Selene, the cauldron was of our world, our heritage, being Prithian, but upon arriving here, the Daglin captured it and used their powers to warp it, to turn it from what it had been into something deadlier, no longer just a tool of creation, but of destruction, and the horrors it produced, those two my parents would turn to their advantage. And when Nesta is kind of recounting her time in the cauldron, like she is a match for it, which is crazy. The cauldron, quote, struggled like a bird under a cat's paw. She refused to relent her grip. Everything it had stolen from her, from Elaine, she would take from it, from Hybern. So she did. Down into black eternity, Nesta and the cauldron twined and fell, burning through the darkness like a newborn star. It's like Nesta Starborn. Other reasons. The bargain she strikes with Cassian leaves an 8-pointed star tattoo as the bargain tattoo. So the quote is, dead. This is Cassian's POV, right? Dead in the center of the Illyrian tattoo, snaking down his spine, a new tattoo had appeared, an 8-pointed star whose compass points radiated in sharp lines across and up the groove of his back, ending with the Illyrian markings long inked there, matching one he knew would be on Nesta's spine. So it's interesting, right? This is the bargain it's a very light bargain that they make, where Nesta's like, you give me whatever I want at some point and I will train. And Cassian's like, deal, which is the dumbest deal.
A big tattoo for such a small bargain. Like the magic was just waiting.
How does she use it? She's just like, leave me alone. And that's the bargain. Kind of iconic. Yes, we'll talk about this later with Cassian. But Cassian also gets that 8-pointed star tattoo. What does that mean?
Right. So not every bargain has tattoos that match. Most don't, but theirs does. Yeah.
Yep. The harp is also found in the middle of an 8-pointed star, right, in the prison, signifying where it was left when the bridge between those worlds closed. So that's another kind of nod to the Asterion. The quote there is, the harp sat atop a large rendering of an 8-pointed star. Its cardinal point stretched longer than the other 4, with the harp situated directly in the heart of the star. She had the creeping feeling she'd been here, not by the cauldron or the mother or the harp, by something vaster, something that stretched into the stars carved all around them. Its cool, light hands guided her wrists as she picked up the harp. So she's having these like connections to those that have been there before. Probably the Daglin, probably the Starborn line.
Something bigger than the mother. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty wild. Yeah.
It's pretty big. Pretty big. Why does this 8-pointed star mean Starborn? Bryce also has, of course, an 8-pointed star that glows with light on her chest whenever that Starborn power is being evoked. Whenever that starlight shines, it shines out of an 8-pointed star on her chest. So these are all nods back to being Starborn. I have 2 other fun little things, but before we get to those, whatever she is, we know that Rhys is for sure of the Starborn line, right? Because his blood is key to the prison, and Selene keyed the prison to her lineage, and she is Starborn. Whatever Nesta is, she is not the same as Rhys, right? She is Starborn plus. She is Starborn plus death. She has some other power in her arsenal that is wholly different, because that sword that she imbues with magic, who becomes Ataraxia, does not want to be with Rhys. It resists being shown in the presence of Rhys, where if they were the same, if they were both calling to it with the same form of power, that would have been much more natural for Rhys. And so what is different about Nesta? Probably death. I'm not convinced that these two things are the same, this Asteri starlight power and death necessarily yet, but whatever it is, they're different.
I think I have an answer. I actually just fucking realized this. I have this quote written down, and it will get into our next question too. Yes, she's Starborn. Let's read this quote. So this quote, you had a quote from Selene. I have a quote from Vesperus, right? So we're getting this from the Asteri's point of view. And it's about the cauldron. It's about when they imbue the cauldron. Those of us who ventured here found ways to amplify that power thanks to the gifts of the land. We pooled our power and imbued those gifts into the cauldron so that it would work our will. We made the trove from it and then bound the very essence of the cauldron to the soul of this world. So they pooled their power, the Asteri. We know that Vesperus's power is the power of the evening star, but there are other Asteri with different power.
The morning star, the whatever.
Yeah, so we have a southern star, we have a north star, we have obviously the evening star. Rigelus is just the bright hand, right? But we have different Asteries with different star power. So maybe it is all just fucking star power and we don't really know what that means, but they pooled their power. So there are different powers that are going into this cauldron. And in the next question, you'll get why I'm saying this. So I think, yes, exactly, she's Starborn in that she took the power from the Asteri, but I think it might be a different Asteri's power that she has taken. And that's why the sword doesn't react well to Rhys, right? Exactly what you said. It's not the same power, but I think it might still be an Asteri power, a Starborn power. It's just not the evening star power, right? Couple fun things here. So Bryce basically confirms that Made and Starborn are the same. This is a very saucy quote, but Bryce and Hunt are having sex on Avalon. This is House of Flame and Shadow, chapter 50. It had been more than fucking or sex or lovemaking. Hunt stared down at her, starlight shimmering in his hair, just as she knew lightning licked through her own. So their powers have kind of merged here, and they've kind of swapped places. It felt like my power went into you, Hunt said, eyes tracking the lightning as it slithered down her body. It's yours, as mine is yours, she said, touching a fleck of starlight glittering between the sable locks of his hair. I feel weird, he admitted, but didn't move. I feel, she sensed it then, understood it at last, what it had always been, what she'd learned to call it in that other world. Made, Bryce whispered with a shade of fear. That's what it feels like. Whatever power can flow between us, my made power from the horn can too. So it's all the same, right? Yeah. It is, the made power is the Asteri power from the cauldron. Different Asteris, a pool of power, but it is basically all Asteri power. That's why it all feels the same thing. There's a really interesting thing that happens after this scene between Bryce and Hunt. So Hunt has this Starborn power in him, and he can wear the mask, right? So the quote is, Hunt studied the mask again. Bryce did nothing without a reason. She had left him with the mask, knowing she was headed to her death. She'd left it with her mate who had a little bit of her maid essence in him, thanks to their lovemaking last night, right? So she leaves the mask with him, and he is able to use the mask to go after her and save her because he has some of this Starborn power in him. When Cassian is under the thrall of the crown, he is able to break it, right? And Cassian and Nesta have a very similar scene. So the scene is thread after thread of pure golden light flowed into him, and he met it with his own, where those threads wove together, life glowed like starfire. And she had never seen anything more beautiful, felt anything more beautiful. So that's Silver Flames chapter 58. Very similar with Hunt and Bryce's powers commingling. Very similar with Nesta and Cassian's powers commingling, but we don't really know what powers Cassian has. And then Cassian is able to resist the crown when Briallen is controlling him through the crown. He's able to resist. He's able to stop. I think because he has some of the maid essence in him too from Nesta, that he is able to resist the trove. Yeah. I mean, and as you said, there's like many other places where the Nesta has the light. So again, killing the King of Highburn, we talked about that. She has white burning power shooting out of her palm. There's also an iridescent light that flows from Nesta's body into Feyre when she's bringing her back to life, right? That could be this Starborn Asteri power. Yeah. I want to talk about the idea of death gods being Asteri a bit. Do you want to talk about that too? So I don't know that they're Asteri, but I think they are Asteri pets, because Selene in House of Flame and Shadows describes kind of what she does after she comes back to Prythian. She says, beneath another mountain far to the south, I found a being of blood and rage and nightmares. Once a pet of the Asteri, it had long been in hiding, feeding off the unwitting. With the dagger in my power, I laid a trap for it, and when it came sniffing, I dragged it back here, locked it in one of the cells, warded the door. I think that is the Bone Carver. I think she's talking about the Bone Carver. It's not Lanthys, because obviously Cassian captures Lanthys, right. Which would mean that the Bone Carver is an Asteri pet and possibly also made from the Cauldron. I mean, we don't really know the full history there, but that is why it all leads back to the Asteri, which I kind of hate. I wish it were a little more interesting, but like...
Yeah, I think they have to be the same. They might be different, like, levels, to your point, but Lanthys said, I rode in the wild hunt before you were even a scrap of existence, witch from Urid. I summoned the hounds, and the world cowered at their baying. I galloped at the head of the hunt, and Fae and beast bowed before us. And when Rhys is describing the wild hunt, he said, the Daglin delighted in terrorizing the Fae and humans under their control. The wild hunt was a way to keep all of us in line. They'd gather a host of their fiercest, most merciless warriors and grant them free reign to kill as they pleased. So at minimum, they are Asteri warriors.
Right.
I think.
Yeah,
Like, they
which
have
I
to.
think makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So they're kind of like the archangel
Yeah.
equivalent,
Yeah.
maybe. I think that makes sense. I also, but they seem more powerful than archangels. They might
I
just
guess
be
the
a stary.
question is, like, why did Vesperus have to be basically sealed into a coffin, and Lanthys and Koschei can just be bound to like little spaces and then they're fine?
Well, so I have a note. There is a quote. When Vesperus dies, the quote is, this is a third person. This is not like a first person. This is a third person narrator. Vesperus, the only Asteri left on this world, lay dead. At this point, Lanthys, the Bone Carver, and the Weaver are gone, but Koschei is still around, right?
Yeah.
So if all of the Asteri are gone, is Koschei not an Asteri? Or, other possibility, this is a lie, and this is not true.
Well, or this, we don't know when that's taking place. We don't know when the Crescent City part is taking place. And we're not
It's
done
after
with
Nyx has been born.
It's after Nyx has been born, but who's to say that Koschei hasn't been killed since then?
I think we have, yeah, I guess that's true. It would feel kind of weird, but I guess that's true.
It would be weird, yeah, that we're reading about something that happened in the future without knowing that Koschei had been killed, but I think that's like possibility 3, basically.
I think it could be a lie because I was rereading again Empire Storms this morning, and there's a moment where Aelin straight up asks Brandon, she's talking to Brandon's ghost, and she says, "Is Maeve a Valg?" And he says, "No." So like she has lied to readers in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the only other note here, which we mentioned, right? When Lanthys dies, when Vesperus dies, when Striga dies, it is black blood up the wazoo, right? So like, are all these things the same? I don't know. They can't all be the same, but like,
yeah, I'm kind of struggling with that. On like a different note, it's not really related to Nesta, but like there has to be differences in these species that come from this world because they're all feeling too different. The Death Gods, these first light consuming Asteri. The Death Gods have nothing for centuries and they are alive.
Yeah.
Vesperus needs to be awoken. Yeah, but Lanthys is like chilling in his cell. When he gets out, he's like, hey.
Lanthys and the Bone Carver are chilling in the prison, which has a core beneath it. And they are not locked in a lead-lined sarcophagus, right? The way that Vesperus is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. So maybe they are getting magic, but
I don't know though, because the Bone Carver is willing to fight against the King of Hybern, and like he doesn't feel like an Asteri.
I know that we have talked about the Valg and the Asteri being the same. If they're from the same world, I think they still have to be opposing. I don't know. My brain hurts.
Yeah, guys, again, we're not solving this episode, but it's just, there's a reason why there's no clear answer here. It's confusing because I'm about to throw another wrench into this question. With our next question. Do we have anything else for this? Yes, Nesta is Starborn. It's not Starborn the same way that Rhys is Starborn. Next question we asked ourselves, and I think this was really fun. Whose power does Nesta have? So the reason we are asking ourselves this question, and by the way, there's an answer, concrete answer to this one, at least I feel. We're meeting Lanthys. Lanthys says, "Which death god are you?" Lanthys asks again, "Who are you beneath that flesh?" "I am nobody." We talked about this quote before. There's more. "Whose fire burns silver in your gaze? You know whose fire." She stalled, but is struck true somehow. Lanthys' skin drained of color. It is not possible. That's what Lanthys says. In Throne of Glass, there is a goddess named Deanna. Mm-hmm. She is the moon goddess. There is a moment of Empire of Storms where Deanna takes over Aelin's body. The quote is, "The creature that stared out through Aelin's eyes furled her fingers into a fist. Light leaked through her clenched fingers. Cold white light. Tendrils flickered. Silver flame." "Deanna," Rowan whispered. She flickered her eyes to him in question and confirmation. Rowan realized what the power in her hand was, realized that the flame she would unleash would be so cold it burned, and realized it was the cold of the stars, the cold of stolen light. Not wildfire, but moonfire. So we have silver flames. We have flames that burn. Mm-hmm. That are so cold they burn, right? It's definitely Deanna's power in my mind. Mm-hmm. It is confirmed, right? Because it's called silver flames. Nesta clearly has silver flames. Deanna has the power of the fire that burns cold, right? So the question, Lucien describing Nesta's power in ACOTAR, we've said this quote before, but just for a refresher, "Is that sort of thing even possible?" Cassian murmured when the door to her room had shut. "For someone to take from the cauldron's essence, Rhys mused, then he said to Lucien, the flame in her eyes was not of your usual sort, I take it. Lucien shook his head. No, it spoke to nothing in my own arsenal. That was ice so cold it burns, ice and yet fluid like flame, or flame made of ice. And we talked about before as well, when she is punching the tree, it is so cold that it burns. So it's Deanna's power. It is a goddess from Throne of Glass World's power. How did that power end up in the cauldron?
Yeah.
Why is that power in the cauldron, right?
Yep.
So I'm throwing another hat in the ring here that the Throne of Glass gods are also Asteri, but I don't know how these can all be fucking Asteri, right? Because Vesper says they pooled their power. They pooled their power into the cauldron. So if Nesta took her power, I don't know. I don't know. We have other... There's some more interesting things here with this, or we can just sit and stew in what I've just said here.
Yeah. I just, I know that you're right. I just, don't want Nesta to have Deanna's power.
I don't want all of these things to be the same thing. How does the mother then
fit in with, these Throne of Glass gods?
I don't know.
Yeah. Ugh. Fuck. Okay.
Okay, but that means that the Valg and the Asteri, if the Throne of Glass gods are Asteri, then the Valg and the Asteri aren't the same.
Are different. Yeah.
Right.
Which is fine. That at least makes some things make a little bit more sense. It doesn't make sense that they bleed the same color, but at least the Bone Carver and Amarin, well, not Amarin, we haven't talked about her yet, but the Bone Carver, Briac, all of these death gods being basically anti Hybern. If Hybern and Amaranth are Valg, then that all makes sense.
I don't have the answer yet. I'm not willing to say one way or another that this is yes, the gods are Asteri, but I am willing to say that Nesta has Deanna's
power. Yeah. So I guess alternative thought, right? Deanna's power, I think, is indisputable at this point. But could Deanna's power be Fae instead, right? Because the cauldron still has Fae and Asteri power in it. So it doesn't need to be part of the pool of Vesperus's power. And so in that case, the gods can stay independent of the Asteri a little. But unfortunately, I think it still does converge because Lanthys is referred to as a first god.
And there is so this gets
Daglin. So that's Asteri.
So this gets really interesting because there is also a god in Throne of Glass World who seems very similar to the Bone Carver, but that god is not one of the gods that Aelin interfaces with. It's the god of truth. I mentioned him, I think, in our last episode. He has a temple underneath Rifthold. It's completely made of bones. The bones are carved with people's confessions, basically. He's a sin eater. There's a lot of comp between him and the Bone Carver. But that god does not seem to be one of these gods, which means he's not an Asteri.
Are you then saying that Mala is an Asteri?
Does this not make sense? Is this not exactly the Vesperus and Rhys story? Because there's also the moment where Nesta is engulfed in flames, right? And Aelin is also engulfed in flames. So it is not the exact same story where a super powerful being has an offspring and that power stays in the bloodline. It's the same story.
Yeah, but this isn't Nesta's bloodline. This is
no, but Aelin. I'm talking about Aelin and Mala, right? Isn't not the same thing? Rhys being super powerful and Aelin being super powerful is both because they have an Asteri bloodline.
But then the Valg and the Asteri can't be the same because then Maeve wouldn't have had to fake her way into this family. Yeah.
I agree. I don't have answers. I don't have answers.
I think we need to do a gods of this, also this isn't really a series anymore.
I know.
Okay. Well, I definitely had it's not Aelin's. It's not Aelin's power. Yeah.
It's not Aelin's, but Deanna and Mala are sisters, right? And there are all these comps between Aelin and Nesta. I think this is why, because they have sisters' powers, right?
Yeah. And that makes sense. I like that. I still think that there has to be some witch connection. And I know we've kind of beat the horse of Nesta being a seductress, but that is super important for the witches and their abilities. They are seductresses of human males because they have to produce offspring and then they drink their blood. It's all very witchy and fun. And I don't know. So I have that passage too. It definitely is Deanna's, but also maybe she has her own power because she says, you know who's fire, and he says it's not possible. And then he says Nesta.
Yeah, I just thought he was piecing together who she was. But it is interesting that he says it's not possible, right? Yeah. So Why is it not possible that Nesta would have Deanna's power if Deanna was a Daglin who ruled in this world and imbued the cauldron with her power? So maybe something's off there.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't really research very much about Deanna, but is Deanna like a queen?
She's a goddess.
No, I know, but like then he calls her Queen of Queens. So is she like
I mean,
elevated
in the way
somewhere?
that all of the goddess and goddesses are like queens? I don't know. What do I
Okay.
have on Deanna?
I know that you're
Because
right, but this one didn't excite me. This one makes me
this one seems to have bummed you out. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I just like don't like for the Throne of Glass gods to be Asteri also.
I know. It's too much. Too many things are seemingly Asteri. But like it's definitely Deanna's power. And the Asteri definitely imbued their power into the cauldron. Wait, I had one more thing on this question. I want to go back to the idea of Eris wanting Nesta's babies. Basically. When Aylin's power combines with Deanna, so when the normal fire and the moon fire combine, she finds a new depth to her power. Eventually the moon fire fades, but basically she becomes way more powerful than she was before. Eris, again, seems to know way more than he should. Does he like know about this? And is that why he wants to go after Nesta?
Yeah. Which would be interesting, right? Because we haven't had like a real crossover from ACOTAR into Throne of Glass world, but like Autumn Court is probably Aylin's line, right? Like,
I think
or at least
so.
Mala's line.
Or at least Mala's line.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a chance that Eris knows a lot about Aylin, Brannon, etc. Just because
Brannon
like,
has
that's
red hair.
his lineage. Yeah. Brannon has red hair and Baron does not. So is the lady of the Autumn Court actually the connection?
Yeah. All right. Ronnie, now that we've bummed ourselves out.
I don't want to go.
I don't like it either, if I'm being honest. I'm okay if the Throne of Glass gods are Asteri. I think that fits with this power of showing up to a world and establishing yourself as a deity, right? Like that's basically what the Asteri do in Midgard. We know that the Throne of Glass gods were actually from a different place, but then they can't be Valg too. Like,
yeah, I think that door's open.
Yeah. Yeah. And they probably can't be princes of hell too. Like maybe the Valg and the princes of hell are the same, but the Asteri and the Throne of Glass gods are the same. And maybe they are all from the same world.
Current positioning. That's what's in my head.
That's where we're going.
My head is the Asteri are the Daglin and the Valg are the princes of hell and the creatures of hell, right? Like the Valg are many faceted, right? The Asteri are kind of mostly one dimensional at this point, and they are opposing parties in all of these books in some capacity. So
well, and it makes sense too, right? Because Dorian's power, which is Valk power,
which is Valg.
His first thing is cold. He is always cold, right? His first power is ice and frost. That's how his magic like shows. And he is always like, I'm cold, I'm cold, I'm cold.
Then Rhys has to be the convergence.
I think
Rhys
so.
is cold.
I know.
So where is Rhys's
So where's the
lineage?
Valg line? I don't know.
And maybe it's the Night Court. Maybe the Night Court is Hellion. Let's just like use that as a term for a moment. Maybe the Night Court line is the Hell line, and because that's where all the black scales and all that shit come in. And then Selene is the Starborn line, the Asteri line.
I mean, Maeve has the violet eyes. I don't know. We're gonna do a Rhys episode, guys. So like, we're probably not done talking about Rhys's bloodline.
Just save it for then. Oh, I hate this. All right. So what is Nesta supposed to do with the Starsword? I actually hate this.
All right. What is that? Yeah. What is Nesta supposed to do with the Starsword?
So, quick refresher, because I had to build a Notion page on the weapons of this series. So, in ACOTAR, the Starsword is known as Gwydion, which was originally wielded by King Fionn. We learned that in Crescent City. Just keep it. Let's just stay with it for a second. Wielded by King Fionn after he dipped it in the cauldron. He used it to banish the Daglin, and it was later stolen by Thea, taken to Midgard for a long time, and there it's become known as the Star Sword that can only be wielded by the Starborn. And so Rune has it, then he gives it to Bryce when he realizes Bryce has way more Starborn heritage than Rune does. There is a Fae prophecy in Midgard that says, when knife and sword are reunited, so shall our people be. I'll explain that quickly. So knife and sword, Gwydion / the Star Sword's twin is Truth Teller, which is Asriel's blade that he lets Elaine borrow at some point. She kills the King of Hybrid with it, then he takes it back. It's Asriel's blade. And Bryce, when she jumps through a gate looking for hell, ends up basically with Asriel. She's got the Star Sword, and Asriel has the blade, and then they're together. Like prophecy fulfilled. Don't know. So, at the end of Crescent City's third book, which is an unfinished series, Bryce leaves the Starsword with Nesta, saying, "You said you had an 8-pointed star tattooed on you," Bryce explained. "And you found the chamber with the 8-pointed star in the prison, too." Nesta lifted her head. So I want you to take the Starsword." Bryce held the blade between them. "Gwydion, whatever you call it here. The age of the Starborn is over on Midgard. It ends with me." Nesta says, "I don't understand." But Bryce began backing toward the portal, taking Hunt's hand, and smiled again at the female, at her mate, at their world, as the northern rift began to close. "I think that 8-pointed star was tattooed on you for a reason. Take that sword and go figure out why." So Bryce also had an 8-pointed star on her chest. It was not a tattoo, but it was where light flared from anytime she was using her Starborn power, her starlight. Nesta has an 8-pointed star tattoo. Bryce says, "You got some shit to figure out. Like, here's the sword. Go do it." The Star Sword we already talked about is twins with Azriel's blade, and we know from the Autumn King that they can literally be merged and create a void. So that quote is, "The Star Sword is made, as you called it. Starsword is made." Confirmation. He waved an idle hand. By the way, this is the Autumn King, who's, like, honestly such a low page time character, but obviously knows so much. He knows about the 26 realms. He knows a lot of things. He says, "The knife can unmake things, made and unmade, matter and antimatter. With the right influx of power, a command from the one destined to wield them, they can be merged. And they can create a place where no life, no light exists. A place that is nothing, nowhere." Her knees wobbled. "That's not possible." This is Bryce talking. He says, "It is. I read about it in the Avalon archives centuries ago." She asks, "Then how do I do it?" "Just say merge into nowhere, and that's that." And he says, "I don't know. My research hasn't revealed the steps to merge the blades, only what they could do." So that's obviously the tip of the iceberg here. But, like, that's kind of what we know that the knife and the sword can do together. And now they are in the same world, right? And the king was reading this from the archives. So, like, it has probably happened before. Can I say, like, a crazy thought real quick?
Of course.
I wonder whether this is how Prythian was created, honestly, because we know that Prythian's was created by a cauldron of something being poured into a void. And, like, this seems to be a way to make a void, like, make a world, potentially. Like, it creates a space where there's nothing. And so, I don't know. It could be something.
Okay.
Could be nothing.
Black hole string theory, love it. Okay.
The Starsword also can kill the unkillable. So can Narbin. There are other swords like this, right? We've got not exactly like it, but we've got Narbin and we've got Ataraxia, who are both death swords. Gwydion is kind of it's more of like a light sword, and then Truth Teller is a dark sword, right? So they're antitheses of each other. I have a bunch of ideas of what Nesta could be meant to do with the Starsword. You sound like you have a more concrete one. I'm just going to throw a few out there, see if they stick. The first one that I like the best, because I'm sick of all of these Asteri, is could she be expected to use it to unwarp the cauldron? Like, effectively unmake the part of the cauldron that has corrupted the cauldron, because we know that we can't actually destroy it, right? It said that all things come from the cauldron. It is kind of like the source of life. We know it's been, like, chopped into pieces and is super powerful, but we know that it's been corrupted. And so could she be expected to use the Starsword to undo that in some way? The Starsword or the Starsword and Truth Teller to, like, heal the cauldron effectively. Anything to add to that? I'm assuming that's not where you went.
I like that idea. No, that's not where I went.
I'd be very happy if that were the case, honestly.
I'm so sick of all these goddamn Asteri.
So sick of them. The other one, this is an obvious one. I don't see why she couldn't do this with Ataraxia, honestly, but, like, to kill Koschei and the Death Gods. So we know that Gwydion has been used to banish the Daglin before. If there are still Daglin secretly ruling this planet through either the Death Gods, or honestly, I think they could just be ruling it through the fact that the cauldron is still the source of power there. Could she be expected to banish them using the Starsword? Another possibility, could she be expected to free the Fae trapped in the prison walls?
Okay, I'm not clear on if there are Fae trapped in the prison walls or if that was the remnants of Midgard's, like, spirits being that Nesta hears, because that's the last time the harp was used.
Well, I think they're spirits, but I think they are trapped in the walls. I think those are the guards that Rhys talks about.
I don't know. I think we're going to do a prison episode, right?
Yeah, we got to do a prison episode. And then the fourth idea, which I hate, is she expected to create a new world, become queen of a new world?
Ooh, I also hate that. I don't think it's that, to be clear.
I don't think it's that either.
I love the idea of unfucking the cauldron or whatever you said.
I really
that's-
think that has to happen eventually. Like,
Yeah, I
that
think
is
that
what
has
makes
to
the
happen.
cauldron so bad.
Yeah.
So maybe
I think
that's
you're right.
something she's going to use it for. Like, the problem is what we're told the sword and the knife can do together is basically create this place where they can just push shit. So, like, maybe they're just going to get rid of all of the bad guys. But if the cauldron is still warped, like, that's never really going to go
Yeah.
away. Right.
Yeah, good point.
The Age of the Starborn is over on Midgard. Like, how could the Age of the Starborn ever be over on Prithian as long as the cauldron is still like...
Yeah.
Okay, what do you got?
Okay, I have a couple thoughts here. So the first one you mentioned, but I think it's really important to mention again, she already has a Starsword, basically, right? She has Ataraxia, and she has killed an Asteri with Ataraxia, right? So, like, why does she need another one? What is she going to do with this blade that she could not already do with Ataraxia? How does that make any sense? There are a couple places, as you mentioned, where we see the 8-pointed star in Crescent City, but there is one that you did not mention that I think is really important.
I think I know what you're going to say. I was saving it, but I'm okay with it.
All right. The 8-pointed star is in the Cave of Princes in Avalon. For a refresher on the Cave of Princes, the Cave of Princes were created by Helena. Helena, of course, was Selene's sister. Peleus is her husband. Everyone thinks that Peleus is the one who was Starborn, but it was in fact Helena. She wanted to create a place where basically, like Selene, she could store her power for her Starborn heir, her Starborn descendant, to claim kind of when it was time. So the Cave of Princes actually has that third kernel of Thea's power in it. There is another thing that Bryce does with the Starsword and with Truth Teller other than creating the void. On the 8-pointed star, on the ground in the Cave of Princes, there are 2 slits, right? She puts the Starsword and Truth Teller within those 2 slits, and that is how she is able to access the final third of Thea's power, right? So basically, she puts them in, and Avalon erupts with this white light, with this white power.
Like
the cave,
basically.
Yeah, it goes like kaboom, and basically Avalon becomes this like paradise that the prison once was. They're like winged horses, like it's like a whole new fucking world, basically. We've talked about this. We've mentioned this. There is no Starborn power in Prithian, right? Like Rhys is of the bloodline, but he does not have that Starborn power. So what happened to it? Because we know that Selene had it, and we know that Selene's son had it, right? They both glowed with the power of the evening star. Azriel says that somewhere along the bloodline, the knowledge was forgotten. Right? So Nesta murmured to Azriel, does Rhys, does he know? No, Azriel replied without an ounce of doubt. Somewhere along the line, all this was forgotten and never passed on. We know that the harp can transfer the Starborn power from a person into a place, basically, because that is how Selene transfers her power into the prison. So we know Selene takes the Starborn power out of her, puts it into the earth beneath the prison, basically, and then Bryce can come and claim it. So is that what happened to Rhys's Starborn power line? Did someone use the harp? Did someone say, hey, this is too dangerous or something? I don't know why this would have happened. But basically, did someone in Rhys's line, because they can use the trove, because they are Starborn, use the harp to transfer it into somewhere else? And remember, this is Selene's power, right? This is not Thea's third of the power. This is Selene's power. Bryce gets Thea's power, right? Selene's power stays in her bloodline for generations. We don't know how many. We know know that at least her son had it, right? I am saying at some point that bloodline, that power in that bloodline was transferred into a place, not the prison. I do not think it is the prison. We have another barren mountain, and we do not know what is under it. Specifically, we do not know what is under it, and that is Ramiel.
Ramiel. Yeah.
That is Ramiel, and we know that a lot of shit went down on Ramiel. We know that Feyre's power reacts to Ramiel.
Yeah.
Right? We know that there is an obsidian monolith on the top of Ramiel. We know that the passive Eneleus is weird as fuck. I think that Selene's Starborn power is buried under Ramiel, and I think that Nesta will retrieve it using the Starsword and
I see what you're
the dagger, the way that Bryce did in Avalon.
Got it. So you're not saying that Selene put her magic, or somebody from her line put the magic back into the land the way that Bryce did with Avalon. You're saying that they stored it the way that Thea did underneath.
Well, the way that Selene stored Thea's power.
Sorry, yes. The way that Selene stored Thea's, but they did it under Ramiel, which is why that pocket is there. I like that.
Yeah, that's what I think is going to happen.
Interesting.
I'm actually
So
like
Nesta
pretty
and
sold on that
Azriel
idea.
have some work to do.
Well, Nesta's story cannot be done. Like there is just
definitely not
too much to do here.
Yeah,
But
yes,
yeah.
And then I like that this is like also just ties into Azriel's story too, which we kind of have to get at least some of next if we're getting Elaine's.
Yeah. We don't know that we're getting Elaine's.
That's true.
I mean, all that Sarah J Maas has said is that she thought the plot of the next book would be obvious. The last book that she ended was with Nesta getting the Starsword, right? Like, It's probably Elaine. I want to be clear about that. Like, I think it's probably Elaine's story, but like, we don't.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take any of it, honestly, at this point. I'd take an Elaine. Like, I need Elaine's story so that I like Elaine more because I'm currently not the biggest fan.
We also don't know. Do we know that the prison didn't? It is interesting, right? Because Avalon does become this gorgeous Eden, but like we don't know if the prison became a gorgeous Eden when Bryce unleashed that power. We get no indication.
We don't know what
did.
happened to the prison when Bryce did that. Yeah, because it all happened after she was away from Prythian.
Yeah. She basically unleashes the power and then immediately.
You'd think that Nesta and Cassian would have maybe dropped a hint when Bryce returned to give them the Starsword and retrieve her parents.
So I don't really know why that happened on Avalon and it didn't happen on the prison. But it might happen on Romuel.
Might happen on Romuel. Cool.
I thought so. I think that would be super fun.
I think it'd be fun. Yeah.
Because we're going to have to fight the Asteri guys. Like, they're coming.
They're coming. Yeah. I mean, they're coming. They're there.
They might already be here. So we have Death Gods, Asteri, Daglin, Throne of Glass Gods. All the same thing, we think.
The Death Gods have to be Asteri. The Daglin are confirmed Asteri. And if Nesta has Deanna's power, then it either has to be Asteri or Fae. Like, just found its way into the Cauldron by some other means. Yeah.
My only thing with that is it's said so many times that Nesta has no Fae power of her own, like Amren, right? Like, or like Amren. I don't know how you say her name. But
yeah, and like
her
power is death. So it makes sense if the Death Gods and the Death Power are all Asteri.
I don't like it either.
I hate it. I know that I like believe it. I just don't like it. But I feel better that the Valg are separate, maybe. I don't know though. They all bleed black.
I know they all bleed black and here's the other thing, right? Like we're just kind of dancing around this and I'll get into it more, but like the Starborn are Daemati. That's confirmed. The Starborn mind speak because that's what Bryce says when she goes into the cave beneath the Cave of Princes because that's where Helena talks to Hel, right? Like through her Daemati powers. Bryce says the Starborn are mind speakers. The Valg also seem to be Daemati, right? Like the Valg have all these Daemati powers. As I mentioned, the Valg are making people see things they don't want to see. It seems like everyone can just read Aylin's mind. Like there's a lot. Maeve is clearly Daemati, right? Like it seems like the origin of the Daemati power is Valg or Asteri, but are they the same? Like I don't know. It's really fucking annoying.
Yeah.
Or we're wrong. We could be wrong about all of it.
We're either wrong about Deanna or we're wrong about the Valg and Asteri being the same because Maeve wouldn't have broken her way into a bloodline. I think today I'm Team Valgar different. Maybe tomorrow I'll be Team Valgar Asteri. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm still Team Valgar Hel. Okay.
I'm more and more Team Valgar Hel. Except that the Princes of Hell seem pretty helpful. I don't know.
Well, I actually think it would be really, really beautiful, and I would love this type of writing if Sarah J Maas played a big game of perception there, where like the Valg to us in Throne of Glass are evil, evil beings, but the Valg in Crescent City, the Princes of Hell, which like sound like they should be evil, they are Princes of Hell, are actually trying to help. Like they're just waging war of their own.
Maeve also says not all Valg are evil. All right, we're probably losing people. Sorry, guys. All right, Pre-cog.
Okay, I again have two nothings, and they're just for fun. Pre-cog corner is about our theories that don't have a lot of evidence, to be clear. Okay, the first one, and maybe we just won't go with the second. Well, it's fine. It's fun.
I love your crazy quotes.
Nesta as the lost queen of hell.
Okay, tell me more.
There is so much queen imagery everywhere, from when she is human straight through to when she is fae. Like she is even in her like hovel of a cottage described as a queen without a throne. relentlessly throughout the books by everyone, not just Feyre in her own head, not just Cassian in his own head, but by death gods, right? Like by death gods, she is called a queen, and in one case, a queen of queens. Hell is full of princes, but no reference to a king or a queen. Though if Valg and beings from hell are synonymous, then we know there once were kings, right? We've got Erewhon and all those. Cassian, we're going to talk about another episode, but has a lot of signs that he could be descended from a prince of hell. He is called the Prince of Bastards, and bastards are a very hell thing because these princes of hell are basically creating, like siring these creatures who are then effectively fatherless because their fathers are like either irrelevant, like Hunt's, or their genetic father is Apollyon or whatever. And so to be a Lord of Bastards or to be a Prince of Bastards could mean that you were a prince of all of these bastards that were created by the princes of hell. And he has a lot of parallels with Hunt, right? For everybody's context, right? Hunt Athalar was an experiment, basically, like an experimental child that was born of a mother and a father, but really created by Apollyon. So he has a lot of parallels with Hunt Athalar from Crescent City. So she's mated to maybe a prince from hell. And so much death imagery. Like we've already talked, we're not going to beat this anymore. Like she's the queen of death. She's, I think, called maybe verbatim the queen of death at some point. She can see it. She's got the power. Her last name is Archeron. Acheron is the river of the underworld. She's basically being set up to be a main character. She is also super, super similar to Aelin. Like, is she going to become a queen of a realm? And is that realm Prithian? It doesn't feel like it's going to be Prithian. I think it's probably hell. That's a crazy one.
I want to talk about that because mine was it was about Nesta being a queen. And my idea was basically she would become queen of Illyria the way that Bryce becomes queen of Avalon. Yours is way better.
I want to hear about it.
Well, Illyria just in that, like, she would
Illyria, sorry, not Illyria. Illyria.
Yeah. Illyria, in that she would, like, unleash the magic, and then, I don't know, I guess they would fucking crown her queen. That doesn't really work. I literally wrote, have not put a ton of thought into this one next to my pre-cog corner. But
well, I guess, though, if she does unleash Ramiel, then that could make sense.
Maybe, but she still wouldn't be queen, right? She'd be High Lady.
Yeah.
Right? If Rhys decides, okay, we can make Illyria a separate court and you can have it and you'll be High Lady. Like, that would be, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I couldn't see it, honestly.
But you triggered something for me. There is certainly an afterworld in this universe, right? Yeah. Because we speak to the dead all the time and it's mentioned, and Selena Aelin opens a portal to the afterworld to talk to Nehemiah. Like, there's definitely an afterworld. I hate this idea because it would mean that Cassian and Nesta die, which I'm not cool with. But, like, you're right about the Acheron River being the river in the afterworld, right? Like, maybe they become kings and queens of the afterworld or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like her as a queen of hell, though. Fuck, I love that. That's great.
I just think it works better with her. But to your point, like, maybe she does it in Midgard, like they've got a bone quarter, although it's not really the afterworld, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's queen of something.
I think she'll be, well, and then, yeah.
She hasn't even met Apollyon yet. He's going to be at her feet. Everybody is.
Yeah. All right.
Everybody but Rhys.
I know. Well, no, Rhys literally kneels
he does
for
throw
her.
himself at her feet eventually.
Yeah. All right, what's your second one? I like that.
This is, again, pure fun. The Archesian amulets. This is a social media shout out, so I'm going to give credit to this person. Smashbee. SMASHBIE commented. To be fair, I took it a little bit further. All they commented was Archeron family dash Archesian misspelled. I'm sorry to put you out there. Amulet. But I liked it, and so I ran with it. I mean, the Archesian amulets were used by the priestesses in the Great Library of Parthos, and they are protective amulets from magic. We learn about these amulets from Jessa Baroga, who was a priestess in that Library of Parthos at one point, has a couple of these, loaned one to Bryce, effectively. Is that how they come into our universe, and there are 5 remaining in existence. And we know that one of Nesta's besties is a priestess. Like, could these way, way down the line in the ACOTAR world eventually have been created by Nesta, forged by Nesta in some way as protective, a protective capability, because we know that she herself is protected. Like, glamours don't work on her. She has kind of this layer of protection and in and of itself. A couple like fun bonuses there. One, we just talked about her being potentially a queen of hell or destined to be a queen of hell. Jessa Baroga like absorbed her power from Apollyon. Like that's how she got some of that. And the only other protective, well, we've actually got a few. I won't get into that. That's not for this episode. We're not going to talk about the Eye of Elena. Or
oh,
nature.
God damn it. I was about to.
Okay, fine. We can talk about the Eye of Elena. But yeah, I don't know. It was just a fun thought because it's spelled the same way as Archeron. And the only person who's making things so far, other than bread, is Nesta. I mean, Elaine's in the kitchen.
Oh, Elaine's making bread. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Okay, and the Eye of Elena is forged by witches, right? So that gets back to the witch idea too. Lots of ideas this episode. Holy shit, this was a big one. Cool. I like it. All right.
What are yours?
Ronnie, what are you reading?
What? You don't have a Pre-cog corner theory?
No, I did. It was about being the queen of Valyria. I didn't like it. Yours is better.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like the Queen of Valyria. Maybe Cassian is the Prince of Illyrian bastards.
Well, okay.
The
So
Illyrians
here's why
probably are all bastards. Like at the end of the day of the Princes of Hell.
Why it works. Okay. First of all, a lot of people think she's going to be queen of the Dust Court. The Dust Court is so firmly in Rhys's bloodline. I just don't really know. And again, the Starborn power has already been kind of claimed from the prison. I don't really know. I do think it would be interesting if the power is under Ramiel. If she unleashes it, it becomes all of the Night Court is kind of like, instead of just Avalon, like if all of the Night Court kind of becomes rejuvenated and whatnot. So I don't really know that the Dust Court thing works. But the Illyria thing works a little bit because there's a lot of similarities between how Illyrians and Avalon view women, right? Like they're very backwards in their view of women and their view of women and what women can do. Her husband is literally commander of the Illyrian armies, her mate, her husband. So that works. And she is now a real Illyrian, right? A true Illyrian because she survived the blood right? So like we're kind of building up to her being more of an Illyrian. I don't know that goes anywhere, but it could be that she unleashes power that may or may not be under Ramiel. And then like they recognize her as queen. I don't know. Maybe. Okay. This was a wild ride of an episode. Lots of emotions. Thanks for sticking with us, guys. If you're still here, I hope it's not too crazy for you. We're getting to that point where we got with Empyrean, where the theories are just like so intricate, I feel like, that you have to be very engaged to follow. But I hope you are. I hope you like it. With that, Ron, what are you reading?
Still Crescent City.
Still Crescent City.
Yeah. I told you I took a break from fantasy to read I Am Pilgrim. I'm currently debating, maybe let the listeners vote. I'm debating whether to continue on in that series. There's 2 books written by the same author that like kind of follow this. It's not the same character, but it's a series. I don't know how else to describe it. You're the Locust is the next one. Or go back to the Shepherd King duology. Or just say, I'm just in a slump and I'm just going to keep rereading Sarah J Maas. Those are your options. Let me know what I should do.
Vote in the comments. Let us know what you think.
If you're still here, you deserve a say, and I will listen to you.
We agree.
What about you? What are you reading?
Well, I'm obviously rereading Throne of Glass. However, I also downloaded and read like the first page and a half of the new. Do you remember when I told you I read Anathema like earlier in the summer? Yeah. So the second book came out. As promised, I said I would probably read it. I have downloaded it. I'm excited to read it. And that will probably be the first thing I read when I'm done with all this Sarah J Maas glorious nonsense. So I'm looking forward to that. We're almost at Brimstone time, which I'm very excited about.
I'm excited about that.
Creeping up.
I might need to reread Quicksilver.
I definitely need to reread Quicksilver.
That book was a blur. For me personally.
That was a fever dream of a book. Yeah, I mean...
It was like, what is happening? And then it was like, what is happening, but at like 70 miles an hour for the last like 20% of the book.
I know. She really packed a lot in there.
Yeah.
We have gotten some requests to cover Quicksilver. I just don't know that we can do it with all this ACOTAR, guys. Like, I don't know that we can do Brimstone too, but maybe when the third book comes out, we'll cover the series. I don't know. But if that's something you're interested in, I guess let us know and we'll see if we can do anything about it. Anyway, we're on social media. We're Dragons in the Details Pod on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. We have a Discord server that's very fun. It's Dragons in the Details. The theories on there are even more crazy than the ones we have, if you can believe that. And email us any questions, comments, concerns. We love hearing from you guys. We're dragonsandthedetailspod@gmail.com. And if you've made it this far, please remember to rate, subscribe, and review. We get some really just like, I love the fucking comments we get sometimes. They're so funny. I'm going to read one to you one time. The Apple podcast comments on our podcast they're gold. They're so funny.
Okay.
But they're good. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for joining us. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.